You didn't start a business to put out fires, but here you are, holding the extinguisher. Business isn't theory, it's pressure, late nights, tight margins, the thing that keeps breaking no matter how many times you fix it. When the room's on fire, the amateurs shout, the pros stay calm. That's the Fixers and Founders way. Part discipline, part rebellion. We walk into broken systems, find the pulse, and make it run clean. Because calm isn't weakness. Calm is a strategy. We're operators, builders, problem solvers, born from the grind, built for the builders. Join us now as we chat with fixers and founders just like you. Let's jump in.
Now, I do have a question. I have a very serious question that I've never been able to ask a bald man. How do you get your head to be so shiny? Do you wax your head or do you just shave very closely?
I moisturize.
I guess it's because the skin is so tight. I have been on that podcast that I did for Jobber out in Las Vegas. It was in a full studio. They had to put makeup on my head to reduce the shine. So Ben, you'll get to see our first episode was with another bald guy, and it was 3 of us, and he's also an integrator. So it was great for the first episode.
Welcome to Fixers and Founders, the place where vision meets velocity. I'm Tony.
I'm Forrest.
Today's guest, Ben Kaiser, designer, educator, and founder of Kaiser Media Group, a creative studio built to help brands and artists tell their stories without getting lost in the tech. Ben's carved out a niche teaching creatives how to simplify their tools, sharpen their message, and build audiences that actually care. If you've ever wrestled with too much software and not enough story, this one's for you. I'm Tony.
I'm Forrest.
This is Fixers and Founders. Let's get it done.
Let's do it. Ben, great to have you. Appreciate you stopping by. So what was it that first pulled you into creative work, and when did you know it could become a business?
So I spent a lot of time with cameras growing up. I really enjoyed 35 millimeter, probably spent way more money than my parents ever would admit to, rolling through tons of film. I picked up a digital camera, then picked up video. And it's just something I've always really enjoyed in all seasons of my life. I went to school to become a graphic designer, not because I wanted to be, but because I wanted to go to a certain college. And that was the only degree that they had that had a photography class. So I basically spent 7 years not learning about the thing that I enjoyed and really hated most of it, which is really interesting. I'm a very much, my wife calls me like a bulldog. Like I'll just keep banging my head against the glass until it breaks instead of like walking 2 feet to the side and opening the door. And that's served me well in a lot of ways. And it's not served me well in a lot of ways. But overall, I think persistence is really what's brought me to this point. I've learned a lot of skills that I wouldn't have if I wasn't as persistent. I now am into a point where it wasn't like necessarily I found monetization. I explored monetization. When we were about to have our first child, my wife was kind of the main breadwinner. You know, I'm a creative. Depending on where you're at in your career, you don't make a lot of money. And she's a nurse. And so she wanted, we were talking about having our first child. She said, I'm not going to work anymore. I said, great. That means I have to figure out how to actually make money, not be a starving artist. And so that's where I pursued learning just how to make money online. And that really took me into content and marketing. And I built a YouTube channel. Now it's at about 140,000 subscribers. And we do quite a lot of revenue for a single operator business with only a few contract workers. And that's really opened up my ability to communicate clearly on this form of creative, which is content, and help others do so. And that's really what I enjoy most, is helping other people make content and have that aha moment that content is fun. And I have something interesting to say. And my expertise comes out in a way that sounds intelligent. Having that aha moment when I turn the computer around after a good edit and show them what the results were from their conversation is probably my favorite thing. I love people, and I love seeing people come alive and their expertise be known.
And you're great at it. Full transparency, I'm a client of Ben's, and he's helping me build out content. So I appreciate working with you. So What do most creatives get wrong about technology when they're starting out? What do you think that is?
I would say that it is, in college, my professors always harped on us to start with paper and then move to the computer. You're in the constraints of a device when you're creating computer first or digital format first. So I think the biggest thing that people get wrong with technology is that it's a tool for creativity. And so what happens is they start in the tool rather than figuring out their idea and then coming to the tool and saying, okay, how do I bring this idea to life with the tool? And so I think the biggest way people can not misuse technology is to start outside of it through conversations, through a sketchbook, through taking a walk. That's really where you'll discover more. I think when you sit and stare at, say, LinkedIn or Instagram all day, your thoughts will become the thoughts that you're reading, you're seeing the images, and then you'll only think that that is all that exists in the world or the only type of creativity that works in the world. And so when you get out, when you have other hobbies, when you have other things that you do, those things come together into your own fusion that becomes
Your brand.
yes, becomes your message, your brand. It's original. That's really the word I was looking for. That's where you become original, when you bring together who you are. We talked about this, Forrest, like you talked about your content, how a lot of the fun, fluffy, random stuff is the stuff that gets tons of views, tons of engagements, because that's originally who you are. It's expressing yourself. But you're not going to sell you being fluffy and funny and quippy. You sell being a COO, a fractional COO. And that content's what converts. But people don't get to know you or experience you by only talking about those elements. And so that's where I encourage people, creative or non-creative, to have kind of a pillars within their life, and specifically talking about content that feed into what they talk about, what they produce. If you only talk about one thing, you tend to be a boring person. I was a boring person for a very long time. I was obsessed with work, obsessed with YouTube. And so I really didn't have that much to talk about. I really allowed myself to be a fully transparent Star Wars fan a couple of years ago. And it's been more fun because my personality comes out more. I showcase who I am instead of just this person who just works all the time. And I think often I was so afraid to be myself that it hindered my ability to connect with people. And so I think that's really the biggest thing. All this started with, how do people use technology wrong? People use technology wrong when they consume it too much and they become what they see instead of who they are.
That's a
Makes
good
a lot
word.
of sense. Reminds me of the band days. Would be often that we'd be going into a studio or trying to come up with material, and some of the guys, the one guitarist in particular, he would go on a hiatus. He wouldn't listen to any other music. He would kind of have that clarity break. He wouldn't want to be influenced by anything, like you said, scrolling LinkedIn. You maybe start picking up other people's voices. So definitely resonates.
Yeah. So how did Kaiser Media Group start, and what gap were you trying to fill?
I started because I was once again in a silo. Still have relationships with all the billion-dollar tech brands, Asus and Lenovo and AMD and Intel, and I work with them on a regular basis, but my local community was really lacking. I I didn't know really anybody outside of people at my church and my family who lived in the local area. And so about 2 years ago, my wife and I really started to have conversations around what it looked like to be involved in our community, to eventually open maybe a restaurant or open some place to hang out, and how do we get there? And so for me, I'm not somebody who just wants to go hang out in general. So for me, business was going to be the avenue at which I plugged into my community. And so I started to think through the skill set that I had and how that might look offering it to a local community or on a regional scale. And it took me a while to figure out like what I actually had to offer, and took a lot of conversations. And really what I came down to and what I found out through conversations with people as I started networking, as I started getting plugged in, was that I really have the ability to put people at ease and help them tell their stories. I have this personality or this way of interacting with people while making content because I'm so comfortable with it, that brings the best of them out. That helps them explain what they do. That helps them showcase their expertise and their skill, whether it's sitting down and explaining concepts or walking a job site and showcasing why their team produces the best result for a custom home build, for example. And so that's really what became through conversation what I offer, is helping people tell their story. And story doesn't have to be something poetic. Just their story is how they do their craft well or how they do what they do well.
Yeah, and I've talked about that at length. That you've been classified by some people as just a videographer, but you really are a storyteller. And that storytelling technique, that putting people at ease and getting them to share openly about their story, is what you do well. It's great.
Ben, how do you switch between being the artist and the teacher and the business owner?
I think the way that I do that is I'm not an artist. I use the example of me versus my friend who has a very similar YouTube channel that I have, and he's very creative. If you watch my videos versus his videos, and most recently you can see this in the most recent post that we both had, is that his videos are very creative, very cinematic, and mine are more on a factual, technical, here's what you need, here's why it works, this is simple, okay, go buy it. And so why I think I can translate between the two businesses so easily is because I care more about the people and the business than necessarily the art behind every little nuance that I'm doing. And I actually hire people who are great artists, who are really good at what they do when we have the projects that make the most sense to bring in that sort of talent. And I'm actually working to hire somebody full time, which I'm really excited about, to take what we do from a creative standpoint to the next level. Can we be effective? Have I been effective without being that crazy talented artist? Absolutely, because again, communication skills, knowing the market, knowing content. But I have a unique advantage of that I've been trained as a professional artist, but it's not where my brain goes. I am terrible at sketching. My son can draw way better than I am, and he's 7. My wife is a nurse, draws circles around me. These are way better artists than I am, and I have 7 years of professional training. I have an undergrad and a master's in graphic design, and I don't like arts and crafts. Like, kill me now. It just happens that that's where I went to school, and that's the trade that I went into. And I'm so glad that I did, because it gave me tools that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
What has been the hardest part about growing a creative service company while still staying true to your style?
The hardest part has been the fear of imposter syndrome, because I don't see myself as a creative person. I don't see myself as this incredible force in creativity. And so I'm always afraid that I won't create a good enough product for somebody, that they might not like it. And that's really been something that I've enjoyed seeing, is every time people are like, wow, this was such great work, we're so excited. It really is, it started to really affirm that, okay, we're doing great work. Because when you're making YouTube videos, you're just making them for yourself. And yeah, you make them for these brands, but the brands already know what to expect. Like, they're coming and paying you to make a video like the video you previously made. When somebody's coming to you, hire you for client services, it's like they've never worked with you before. They've never seen themselves on camera from the way you've produced it and edited it and stuff like that. So for me, it's been a very, very personally raw feeling and journey. Because again, like, I don't see myself as an artist, and I've had to overcome some of that imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I think we can all probably relate to that for sure. Given your experience, in your journey so far, what advice would you give someone that's looking to turn their personal skill sets into a scalable brand?
Don't get too hung up on the details. Details are important, but I think the funniest thing is I just wrote a post on LinkedIn. I've been kind of like going ape over this M dash thing. So I just like write. I've started to write like M dash posts, because I just feel like it's so funny. Like, for so long, you'd be criticized so extensively if you spelled something wrong. Like, people are like, why'd you spell that wrong? And now, like, you should spell something wrong so people don't think it's AI. And I think it's just wildly hilarious. I think even video is going to get to a point where people are like, oh, edited with AI. Nope, because I spelled this wrong. Like, it's really funny how, like, the roles are reversed in this season. And I think artists and designers and creatives and really business people in general can kind of like breathe easy in this season. Yes, still focus on being professional. Yes, still focus on producing great work, but clearly not everything always has to be perfect. And you're going to discover more shipping than you will waiting and ruminating on every little tiny thing. I mean, Forrest and I talked about that the other day, how getting 90 different opinions is just going to cause analysis paralysis. Like, launch, then iterate. That's the secret to content. Secret to content is not coming up with a perfect strategy. It's testing enough things to see what works for you. The secret sauce is hit your face against the glass enough times to where something sticks and you're like, okay, now I've learned. Now let's try and edit that. Let's try and make a tweak of that. And I think that's where I have a lot of confidence, because I'm not such an amazing artist. I just have to bang my head against the glass enough times until we make some progress and figure some things out. And so that's what I would encourage other people to do, is try not to be as good as you are, because it holds you back in a way, because you are so good and you can ship such a great product, but often it keeps you from shipping.
Yeah. And your first post is always your worst post.
That's so true.
Where's the M dash key on the keyboard, by the way?
I have to copy paste them. I have to literally search it on Google. I have no idea how to M dash. I don't know. I just go to Google and just like, give me an M dash. And then it gives me one. I have to copy paste it. I don't know how to use it.
We got some wild card questions.
Okay.
So no preparation on these. What is one project that still makes you smile every time you think about it? M dash. Even if no one else ever saw it.
Yes. Okay, good. I'm glad I have an example for this. I did a collaboration with HP years ago. I have a favorite YouTuber called Make Art Now. Josh Yo, Make Art Now. Yo, Josh Yo. He's amazing. I used kind of one of his videos as inspiration, and I reviewed this mouse. And it was my most cinematic, technical, creative video I'd ever done. It's so fun, and I'm so proud of it. And it didn't get many views because nobody cared about the mouse. But it's my favorite project.
That's awesome.
What is something outside of work that helps to fuel your creativity? I know you talked on some of that earlier. What's an example that works for you?
Right now, it's interesting because I'm in a transition in my life where, like, for the past decade, it's been like survive, make enough money to raise 4 children and take care of a wife and be able to do nice things for her. And I'm in this transition point where like money is starting to become something that's not as overwhelming. I am a product of the crash. So when I was 13, my dad went from like owning a huge real estate portfolio to like living in an apartment that one of his like we didn't even own. And we were like, hey, can we go buy groceries, Dad? And he was like, maybe tomorrow. And so like for me, I've always lived with this like fear of losing everything. And through prayer and just like really through prayer and conversations with my wife, I've gotten to a point, and also through growing a business, that's no longer as much of an anxiety. And so now, like what's motivating me more is this exploration of interesting things. I want to film and do interesting things and capture people in their passions and just create things with people that they're excited about. Because I do have passions, but I know people who are wildly more talented and passionate about very cool things than I am. And so I want to hang out with those people and get those people on video and see the things that they're doing and just capture their excitement and be a part of those big things.
That's awesome. That was Ben Kaiser, proof that creativity scales when clarity leads. What he's built shows that technology is not the point, it's the pathway. Simplify the tools, tell the story, and keep creating. I'm Forrest.
I'm Tony.
This was Fixers and Founders.
Oh, my darlings, look at you. Still here with me till the end. That's how I know you're one of us. The fixers, the founders, the ones who build in the chaos and still manage to laugh through it. Drop a comment, share your sparks, and connect with each other. This is where the net weaving begins. Like, share, and subscribe to keep the fire blowing. Until next time.